There's a problem in this country. I felt it all through my teenage years and young adult years, but I could never put my finger on it until recently. It was the feeling that there was something wrong with gender roles as they are now in America. There's something wrong with relationships. There's something wrong with how we relate to one another in America in relationships, and about who we are expected to be as men and women in relation to one another, whether it be in actual romance or otherwise. It used to be that the roles of gender were clear-cut and defined from thousands of years of well-cut grooves by men and women who have adhered to traditionalist ideas of gender based on religion. The roles were easy to understand. Any kid who picks up, a story, a fairy tale or anything, any kid who picks up a story about a knight in shining armor rescuing a damsel in distress understands gender roles. Easy. Any kid who had a family which was traditional in any way, shape, or form understands gender roles easily. Men are courageous, or supposed to be courageous, protective, honorable, supposed to take action when necessary, supposed to be intellectual, supposed to be honest and noble, supposed to be manly, in other words. A man is supposed to have these manly qualities to protect and care, be courageous, etc., the things that I've listed, along with many other things. A man is supposed to feel like a man. But as Dave Chappelle said in his one of his comedy skits, women don't let men feel like men anymore. You guys don't. The example he used was, if a man is sitting there watching the game and his wife comes up, don't give him shit about watching the game. Don't make him feel like a jackass. He said just lick your titty a little bit. Just lick your nipple. Which is funny. But true, the principle's there. If a man, he said if it makes a man feel like a man to watch the game, why are you gonna hate on him for it? Why are you gonna make him feel, belittle him for it? Why? It's because you're envious. It's because you have penis envy. See, the premise of feminism is that our traditional gender roles are oppressive. The idea behind it is that it's oppressive to force a woman into a particular role. That a woman being a homemaker, taking care of the kids, this idea in society is somehow oppressive to women. A woman as being, the sweet mother and lover and wife, this is an oppressive role. See, this is the bullshit that these feminazis began putting in women's heads in the early 1900s. Just the overall idea that everything associated with women was weakness, and that what was desirable was those qualities that they saw associated with men. Not even the qualities, but rather what was desirable was the power that they perceived men as having over them and over society. Now, it's true that in those times women didn't have the right to vote. Everything was much more traditional, and that women were oppressed and repressed. I'm not advocating a return to those times. And I don't mean to say that it wasn't necessary for women to fight for their rights and to organize movements like feminism to get their rights. But this knee-jerk reaction called feminism has really led us in the opposite direction that it was meant to go in. It was meant to free men and women and to establish them in the truth of who they are. But instead, it gave them a negative definition by saying this is what you're not. And so automatically, they just latched on to the perceived power that they felt coming from the male side. And that's what Freud called penis envy. That women don't have a penis and they're envious. You know, he simplified it, and I think he was speaking symbolically as the penis as a symbol for the perceived power that men have over the world and over women. That women are envious of this power. You know, beforehand, when I was brainwashed by political correctness and all this, I wouldn't have agreed to this line of thought. But after experiencing intimately what women are like in relationships, I am 100% a proponent of this idea. I see how that women, they don't know, at least American women, they don't know how to accentuate a man's manliness. They don't know how to bring out that manliness. They don't know how to allow a man to enjoy it and allow themselves to enjoy it. Just the simple nature of themselves. But instead, they would rather force a man into the woman's position and lift themselves up into the perceived male role. In other words, they would rather wear the pants in the relationship. They're the ones that do all the final decision making. They're the ones that feel that their desires and their needs are more important than yours. They're the ones which are doing the abusing in relationships nowadays. They've really adopted the roles that men had before, where the men were the abusive, tyrannical ones who didn't give a shit about the other person, and now women are the abusive, tyrannical ones that don't give a shit about the other person. And men are just confused, in America at least. Just confused puppets of their women. Just like in the past, women were confused puppets of their men. Now it's backwards. This is what feminism has gotten us. We went from backwards, sort of backwards. No, we went from distorted to backwards and distorted. Beforehand, we were just distorted. Now we're backwards and distorted. So, fantastic. And women, they have no female qualities anymore. Their qualities are like those of a young man, rather. Rambunctious, very promiscuous, anti-authoritarian, very independent, harshly independent, very self-serving. In other words, all of these qualities which you would expect from young males are being accentuated in young women. And you have, record rates of homosexuality amongst both genders, as everybody is just confused as fuck about their gender roles. I'm not saying that homosexuality is wrong either, but you will see that it has been increasing lately, I'm sure. Women don't have that sweetness. Women don't have that compassion. All those motherly qualities that you know from your mother are completely absent in modern American women. They're crass, shrewd, self-serving, manipulative, catty, just nasty, just full of shit, thinking that men are their slaves, thinking that men are their servants, that men are just worthless pieces of shit, that, you know, you should be so glad that I'm even talking to you. This is the attitude of many, many women in America in my age, especially. And it's very disturbing. I hate to see it. Because not only does it bring them unhappiness, it brings their partners unhappiness, it makes everybody unhappy. And they don't even realize it. And they're so proud, because pride is a part of this whole stupid shit, that they won't admit that they're wrong. That they can't even see that they would even be even partially possible of being wrong in any way, shape, or form. Because that goes into the arrogance of feminism. That since it had to assert itself independent from males, it kind of indentured this headstrong, rebellious attitude that still carries on in so many women nowadays, having, you know, inherited it from their mothers and other women, and from the culture which feeds it into their head 24/7 through TV and music and everything else. Feeds into their head this bullshit idea that all men are pigs, and that women alone should be valued in the society and in relationships, and that everything's about the woman's desires and needs, and men are just, you know, just there to kind of fulfill women's needs. This bullshit is pumped into our brains from all angles.